Okay, hi guys. My name is Hongyi Sun. I am a senior at UW-Madison studying sociology, and I have a Asian American Studies certificate. And I'm running for co-chair, and the second one is education, and third one is MSc-PB. A little bit about myself. I was born in China, and I was raised in St. Louis, Missouri. We have a big arch there, and there's a big river there, and we're really good at baseball. I don't know if you care about those things. And I grew up in a predominantly white, predominantly Jewish high school with probably like 10% Asian, and most Asians were either Chinese or Korean, so East Asian. I had never encountered a Hmong person or a Tibetan person before coming to college, and it was a very eye-opening experience for me, especially through ASU, which I got involved in freshman year, second semester, and I think also Asian American Studies courses were very impactful on shaping my identity as a Chinese American, which I strongly identify as. I try to keep both parts of me in my heart. And the reason why I'm running for co-chair is that previously I was on e-board for ASU not last year, but the year before that, and I was education chair. And so I think I learned a lot about how ASU's e-board works, like the gears and how all the egos and how they can clash and create conflict. And so that's one of the main things that I'm looking to address within ASU, along with communication problems and lack of transparency among the e-board members. So the way I intend to do that is I intend to foster a very welcoming and safe atmosphere within our e-board so that people can address their concerns and feel like they are being heard and feel like their voices are not being silenced, because that has happened to me previously on the board a lot of times. And I think my personality is very suitable for that because I tend to be very honest and very blunt about what I think, although I try also to be, respectful and careful and sensitive to others' opinions. But sometimes this is also one of my weaknesses. I slip up a lot. I hurt people unintentionally sometimes when I say things. But also another issue I hope to address in ASU is the power balance between the two co-chairs. And it's been said in the past that one co-chair has all the power and the other co-chair has almost no power, or they're not very equal. So the way I intend to do that is just keep my co-chair and I, both of us, accountable and make sure we're always on the same page by having regular one-on-one meetings. And this is also true for keeping the e-board as cohesive as possible by reaching out intentionally and privately to each and every one of the board members if I feel like there's a problem or if things aren't going as smoothly as they should. And above that too, one other issue that I hope to address in e-board is the lack of I want to say friendship in the e-board, as we tend to treat each other on the board as co-workers rather than, we're just kids. We're not even working yet. We're just in college, right? So we're still learning how to handle people and different conflicts and interests. So I hope that in order to do that, just have the board hang out a lot to actually get to know one another and be on good terms with one another so that things can be more smoothly. And as a president, I hope to alter the vision of ASU, which one of the problems is we tend to isolate ourselves as minorities and especially Asian Americans. And I hope that ASU will be a vehicle to the campus as a source of, you know, as a real umbrella or really representing the interest and being the liaison between minorities and people of color and Asian Americans and the university, because the diversity issue, you know, the university kind of puts it off and we don't really do anything to do about it either. So that's one of the long-term goals that I hope to achieve through ASU president, co-chair. And yeah, just a more empowering identity for ASU overall, more positive message rather than a negative one. Yeah, and I think that's something that I will work on as co-chair also. Thank you.
So retention of members is crucial for every org, and a method that some other orgs use is to throw parties. Is that something that you're willing to resort to? Because ASU in the past is not an org that usually throws a lot of parties and stuff.
Okay.
But that is ways that people become aware of organizations and meet other people and join orgs and stuff. So is that something you're willing to do or not?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So I think a lot of Asian American orgs on campus, they do have a lot of parties, and this is good in that yes, it encourages people to come out and do stuff with ASU, and also it can be a source of funding as a fundraising opportunity. But I think there has to be a balance between the social aspects of the organization and the more serious educational identity or empowerment or activism aspect. So I think at ASU it's just, yes, I would be willing to throw more parties and more collaboration with other orgs, because that's also an issue that we have. But also, at the same time, our mission isn't to go drink and go to Sagredo and do whatever. So I feel there needs to be a balance between the two.
You mentioned that sometimes you consider people's feelings and emotions, but sometimes you slip up and might hurt them. How would you rectify that situation?
How would I rectify it? I think I would. So I plan on having maybe once a month meetings with the whole board there, just to address issues among egos and interests and whatever conflicts, to make sure everyone's on board. And also if I hurt somebody, I would go intentionally to them and go to them in person and talk with them privately about it and apologize if it's very, very hurtful, and I would like to listen to their voice and try to solve the problem in that way.
In your speech, you talk about keeping the egos in check. How would you keep your own ego in check?
How do I keep my own ego in check? I think because the co-chair is not just me, it's the other person too. So I think the other person, we have to keep each other's egos in check by just talking about ASU, and both of us, I feel both of us have to reach out to others and just to keep accountability. So there's 2 chairs, so that's why I think the purpose of having 2 chairs is good, so that we can keep our own egos in check.
The fact that ASU does have 2 presidents or co-chairs is also an interesting situation. And how would you handle a situation where you two don't see eye to eye? There's something going on and you have completely opposite opinions. How would you handle that? How would you handle working with each other in that situation?
Yeah, I think completely opposite opinions. So I actually encountered this problem with my education chair previously. So I think just going somewhere, having lunch with him or her and just talking it out, trying to be as honest as possible with each other is important. And yeah, and if there's like opposite opinions, I guess it'll take time to reconcile those opinions, but to work on like compromising and being very honest about what we think and what we can do to move forward.
I have two questions for you. So I know in your speech you mentioned a lot about things that ASU lacks or things that an ASU e-board doesn't contribute, or like conflicts and stuff like that. But can you describe, can you like mention, or is there anything about ASU that you are at least proud of, or that that you think is good about ASU?
ASU, are you talking about the board or just ASU in general?
Both.
Both? First of all, I think ASU really opened my eyes to racial injustice and microaggressions, and like how the campus racial climate is not very good for minorities, and it really like radicalized my opinion about like social change and helping others, as I aim to go into like nonprofits in the marginalized communities. And for e-board, I think one thing that's good about it is it teaches you a lot about how stuff can still be done even though you have lots of different people, and we all do have the heart for Asian Americans. We just struggle at executing it perfectly.
So I noticed at the beginning of the year that for the welcoming event, or for the first meeting, there was over 50 members that was there, but over the event, and I noticed there was a lack of participation within the Madison community. As co-president, how do you plan on improving that?
Can you elaborate on what you mean by the Madison community's lack of participation?
How do you increase membership and get the members to actually stay?
I think it shouldn't be my responsibility solely as co-chair. It should be all of our responsibilities, because that's really a very key problem that ASU has struggled with over the years. But I will definitely say, for me personally, just being very welcoming to people of all backgrounds, not only Asian Americans and other people of color, but also white people, because they are the real ones, I think, that need to understand our struggles, and it's hard to do that when we pit ourselves against each other and do not treat them with respect, even though a lot of people, it's just us versus them. It's not like united as one, right? I don't know if I answered your question or not. Anything else?
Do you have a campaign slogan for your run to be co-chair?
Alright, fine, we don't.
I mean, so you asked me that, and I think since we're a student org and ASU has a mission statement, it's not very necessary for me to have a campaign slogan, because you guys aren't very, because it's not very like big. It's not like we're having a big election. So that's my answer for you. Anything else?
Any more questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.